Welcome back to the video blog ADM here. Adam Daniel Mezei, your PMDforhire.com. This is episode 200. I'm recently back from Sundance, from Utah, from Park City, the film festival. It's good to be back here at Fort Lauderdale on ice, of course. No big difference in terms of the climate. The snow is still around me. It's just like I've switched countries. So, really interesting, Sundance, being part of industry in the press corps, being really kind of exposed to a lot of different people in the film business and a lot of bullshit artists. I have to say, that's primarily the feeling that I take away from Sundance. A lot of bullshit artists, a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing, a lot of people that are milling about an industry that have all kinds of empty promises, a lot of big talk, a lot of bluster, a lot of shilling, lots of BS. That's probably the best way I could describe it. Lots of empty promises, a lot of thrice promising things and not delivering, a lot of big talking. You know, when the independent film business pretty much went 180-degree tits up in 2007, when things like pre-sales for independent films dried up, the market for pre-sales, whereby you actually cut up various territories around the world, for example, Germany, the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Japan, and what you do is you pre-sell the movie. So you receive promissory notes from these various distributors in these countries, which you end up taking back to US banks, and they end up financing your films to the tune of whatever the promissory note is less a discount and interest, which is the money that you end up using to make your movie. Of course, the bank ends up getting that money back from these various territories upon completion. That whole market, that pretty much dried up. The way you make independent film today, equity financing, but even that is very difficult because the equity partners are looking for very specific elements. So like this cutting edge indie stuff is really hard to go by. And I guess I can't really blame indies because like what are they going to do if they're not going to shill? I mean, the whole idea is you got to kind of hack and slash and make your movie. So you got to kind of talk up your projects and you got to hustle it up and talk it up and kind of just shill and schmooze and do everything. But it's funny just kind of like milling about in the industry center, you know, at the Marriott Hotel in Park City at headquarters and just talking to all these different people, and like I'm astonished by the number of people who don't have business cards, who don't show up for meetings on time, who end up just bullshitting and sort of fabricating their resumes. Just a bunch of bullshit artists. It's amazing. It's kind of, after 7 days, like you kind of by the end of the week, you're just happy to just sit down and watch movies and not talk to, you know, everybody about their BS. I mean, it's instructive as well. I think you have to go through a variety of different people throughout so that you know exactly who you're dealing with. But all in all, it's really tough out there. It's really tough for indies. It's tough for every industry, but it's especially tough for indies because they don't have money to make their movies. And I kind of feel bad. And then what they end up doing is like focusing on a lot of different minutiae that really have nothing to do with independent film. It's really hard to collect from clients. It's really hard, you know, to amass any kind of a revenue stream that you can pretty much bank on that would finance your next picture or your current picture to bring your monies back. I feel really bad for indies. And, well, it's been an interesting Sundance. There was a lot of really good projects that were out there. There were a lot of really good movies. I didn't really have a chance to watch more than a dozen of them. About 15 movies, I think. I wanted to watch at least 24. I didn't have a chance. Things got involved, meetings, schmoozing, and I was, of course, doing a bit of client work when I was down there, too. So everything kind of came in, kind of entered the funnel at the same time. But definitely want to go back to Sundance 2012, and this time I'm going to do it much better. I'm going to do it much more intelligently. I'm going to leave 2 days before the thing starts so that I can have everything kind of ready to deploy the minute that the festival starts. I also don't want to be caught flat-footed in terms of interviewees. I had a few really good interviews at filmcourage.com, the live streaming show on ustream.tv. I had a few of those, and of course I'm very glad to have met some really interesting players, people like that I've been communicating with for months on end that I just didn't have a chance to connect with, people like John Reese and people like Dennis Hennelly of Bold Native, and people like Jacob Mosler, who was a choice find, somebody who was staying at the same hotel as I was in Redstone at 6 miles outside of Park City. Really nice guy from California who does line production and unit production management, and who apparently is a very good first AD, being in pictures like Jacob Aaron Estes' The Details, starring Tobey Maguire and Elizabeth Banks. So we had a really good chat about that on Ustream. People like Zach Forsman and Kevin K. Shaw of Savvy Pictures. People like Paul Rachman and Dan Mervish of Slam Dance. And of course, Paul's wife Karen was exceptionally kind in making sure that Dan Mervish showed up for his 10 o'clock call time on Thursday morning after a party at the New Frontiers. Thanks, Zach. Didn't get a chance to meet Gary King, but I did have a great session with Gary Bain, of course, the director of Jens Pulver Driven and Person of Interest. And I met Melanie Miller of Gravitas Ventures and Nolan Gallagher again, and the entire team of Gravitas Ventures on the first night that I was in town, and a bunch of different people like Melanie Miller of Margaret Miller, of Utah Talent. Margaret Meyer of Utah Talent Management. Sorry, I have Melanie Miller on the mind there. And she was exceptionally nice in introducing me to some Utah stuff. People like Kathleen McInnes, a publicist from Los Angeles. So many people that I met, and so many cards. Oh, and not to mention Richard Abramowitz of Abramarama. Just a bunch of nice guys, and we really had a good chat, handing out a lot of cards. And on the final day, I went up a couple of the mountains at King Khan Resort and stuff. So it was good. It was a good trip. Definitely heading back for 2012. But the thing that I wanted to take away, a lot of bullshit artists in independent film. Shame on you. And unfortunately, they give independents a little bit of a bad name, but we forge forward and we continue to innovate and find new ways to engage our audiences with our projects. So it's good to be back, episode 200, back here in Toronto, wishing you the very best of things. Take care and see you tomorrow.